The number one thought that predicts depression. After 60. Do you think this way? It starts with a whisper. You barely notice a passing thought that feels so ordinary. You don't even question it. But this single idea, this one hidden destructive belief, is the most powerful predictor of depression in people over 60. And if you've ever caught yourself thinking it, even once, you need to pay attention right now, because the thought isn't loud, it's not dramatic, it's not even obviously dangerous, it's quiet, plausible, disguised as truth. And it sounds like this: it's too late for me now. And when that sentence settles into your mind, even silently, it begins to rot your spirit from the inside out, convincing you not just that your best years are behind you, but that there is no use in trying anymore, no point in starting again, no reason to feel deeply or dream boldly or speak up honestly, because something inside you has already decided that the story has ended, even if your body is still moving, still waking, still breathing. And this belief doesn't arrive overnight. It creeps in after 1,000 tiny disappointments, after one too many silent dinners, after the people you love stop calling as often, after your routines become numbing instead of nourishing, after joy starts to feel like a language you no longer speak, and suddenly you find yourself saying, "I'm fine," when you're not smiling, because it's easier than explaining, pulling away from invitations because they feel exhausting instead of exciting. And no one notices the moment it starts. Not even you. Because depression in older adults rarely looks like sadness. It looks like stillness, like silence, like routine so tight. It's choking, and beneath it all is that one seed. It's too late, and that thought becomes your lens, your filter, your excuse, your cage. It's what keeps you from trying the new hobby, from reaching out to the friend you lost touch with, from telling someone how lonely you really are. Because you've already decided the outcome before the action. And what's worse, you've convinced yourself that it's realistic, even responsible, even wise. But the truth is that this thought isn't maturity. It's despair dressed as logic, and it doesn't reflect reality. It creates it because the moment you start believing it's too late to grow, too late to connect, too late to matter, your brain stops building, your heart stops opening. Your days start repeating like faded copies, and even if you're surrounded by people, you begin to disappear. And maybe you've noticed it already, that no one really asks what you dream about anymore. That the questions you get are always about your health, your schedule, your errands, but never about your imagination, your hunger, your ache for meaning, and over time you start editing yourself down, offering only the polite, quiet, manageable version of who you are. And in that shrinking, the depression takes root not always as tears, but as numbness, fatigue, disconnection, and the haunting sense that your life is no longer yours. It's just a loop you've been assigned to complete. And you tell yourself it's normal, that aging means slowing down. But deep down, you know the truth. This isn't peace. It's surrender. And you surrender in ways no one sees. You stop buying the vibrant colors you used to wear. You stop sharing your true opinions because they feel out of date. You stop asking new questions because the answers seem irrelevant now. And eventually, you stop noticing how small your world has become, because smallness becomes safety, and safety becomes routine. And routine becomes a prison made of polite habits and empty days. And all of this starts with a single idea you never thought to challenge. It's too late for me to change, and that idea becomes a prophecy you fulfill every single time you stay quiet when you want to speak. Every time you say no, when you secretly hope someone will ask again, every time you watch someone else live the life you used to dream about and tell yourself, that's not for me anymore. Not because it isn't, but because you've accepted a false expiration date on your own becoming. And if this sounds familiar, if there's even a sliver of recognition in your chest right now, then you must understand this depression in later life rarely begins with trauma. It begins with resignation, with emotional resignation, spiritual resignation, the decision to dim before the light goes out. And the tragedy is that no one warns you about it. No one tells you that giving up doesn't always look like collapsing. Sometimes it looks like coping too well, looking too calm, smiling too easily. And underneath it all is the silence of someone who's stopped believing in the future. Someone who still wakes up, but no longer feels awake, and you start saying things like, "I'm too old for that," or "people my age don't do that," or "that part of my life is over." And you don't realize that every time you say it, your brain listens, your heart obeys, your body slows, because belief is a blueprint, and your biology follows the map you hand it. And if that map says decline, then decline becomes your default, not because of your age, but because of your assumption, your acceptance, your unchecked repetition of a lie so common it feels like fact. But here's the secret: that thought it's too late is a symptom, not a sentence. It's not the truth. It's the first warning sign, the mental cough before the emotional fever, the subtle tightening before the collapse. And if you catch it now, if you name it, expose it, drag it into the light, you can still disrupt it. You can still say no. You can still reclaim the part of you that stopped hoping, that stopped reaching, that stopped imagining yourself as someone still in motion, not just surviving, but becoming, because you are still becoming, even now. Even if you feel like you're unraveling, especially if you feel like you're unraveling, that unraveling is not the end, it's the invitation. And if you answer it, if you listen to the ache beneath the apathy, the longing beneath the loneliness, the dream beneath the doubt, you will find that the person you thought you had to let go of never actually left. They were just waiting for you to stop apologizing for being alive. Because being alive doesn't end when the calendar flips past 60 or 70 or even 80. It ends when you stop allowing yourself to believe you can change. Grow, be wanted, be thrilled, be challenged, be loved in a way that still surprises you. And this is the quiet epidemic of emotional resignation no one talks about. Not because they're cruel, but because most people around you have resigned in their own ways too. And so it becomes normal to slowly vanish in plain sight. To be the one who always listens, but is never truly heard. To be the dependable presence who no longer brings anything new into the room. And people stop asking you about your passions, because they assume you don't have any left, and you stop volunteering them. Because the last few times you did, they changed the subject or looked confused or said, "You're still into that," like your curiosity had an expiration date, and maybe you didn't say it out loud, but in that moment, a part of you agreed. Maybe I'm too late to care this much, and that's how it starts. Not with drama, not with breakdowns, but with subtle self-abandonment, the slow sanding down of your edges, so you fit more neatly into the role they expect you to play. And you play it so well that no one questions it, not even you. Until one day you realize you haven't felt truly seen in years, and the scariest part is that you almost don't miss it anymore. You've convinced yourself that less is safer, that silence is dignity, that wanting more is somehow selfish or foolish or embarrassing at your age. But those are not truths. They are symptoms of depression with good posture and practiced smiles, and every day you live inside them, you get further from your own pulse, your own breath, your own fire, and the world keeps spinning and you keep performing, and no one sees the fact that you're aching for someone to look you in the eye and say, "I know you still want something more." Because you do, even if you've buried it, even if you've forgotten how to say it aloud, even if you're afraid it's childish or silly or impossible. Now that desire is not weakness, it's the proof you're still alive, and depression lies to you by making your longing feel like shame, by convincing you that reaching for joy makes you naive, that asking for connection makes you needy, that hoping for change makes you unrealistic. And the more you believe that, the deeper the spiral goes, And the smaller your life becomes, until it fits inside a routine so tight you can't breathe. But you tell yourself that's just aging, when in reality it's the aftershock of believing the most dangerous thought of all. It's too late to matter, but it's not too late. It was never too late. The only thing aging takes away is time, and time isn't meaning. Time isn't fire, time isn't truth. You can live more in the next year than you did in the last 10, if you stop obeying the thought that tells you not to bother. Because bothering is not weakness, it is resistance, it is reclaiming. It is standing at the edge of the most devastating lie, that you no longer count, and daring to say, I still do. And if your mind has been whispering that it's too late for you, then this is your proof that it's not the fact that you're still curious, that you're still reading, that you're still wondering if this voice knows something about you that you've been afraid to say out loud. And maybe you've been carrying that fear quietly with elegance, telling yourself that you're grateful, that you're lucky, that you've lived a full life. And yes, maybe that's true. But what if you're not done yet? What if the thought that's been telling you to wind down, to back off, to give in, isn't wisdom, but weariness? And what if that weariness has been trying to convince you that peace means passivity, that calm means disconnection, that aging means invisibility, and you believed it? Because everyone around you believed it too, and no one pushed back, and no one said, hey, you're still allowed to want more, and so you buried the parts of you that still wanted things you didn't know how to ask for anymore. Adventure, intimacy, surprise, challenge, laughter, so real, it shakes you, open grief, so sacred, it reminds you you're still capable of depth, and under all of it was that one sentence. The one that kills more slowly than any diagnosis. It's too late for me now, and you let it in, because it felt familiar, and familiar felt safe, and safe felt easier than risk, but now you see it for what it is, a parasite, a poison, a psychic erosion that starts at the edges of your ambition and eats its way into your belief system one quiet morning at a time. Until you wake up and realize you haven't dreamed in months, haven't cried for real in years, haven't felt known in what feels like a lifetime, and the world sees you and says, she's doing great, or he's always so steady, but they don't see that you're doing great at disappearing, that you're steady because you stopped reaching, and now you've become so good at coping, that people think you're thriving when really you're just surviving, and that is not the same thing, and it never was. So here is your invitation, your reversal, your refusal. Do not let the thought, it's too late, be the last story you tell yourself. Rip it out. Replace it. Speak back to it every morning until it quiets. Say, I am still here. I am still forming, I am still becoming, and I will not let this stage of my life be the part where I vanish. I will let it be the part where I finally tell the truth. Because depression doesn't always arrive with darkness. It often arrives in silence, in stillness, in routines that no longer spark joy, in days that all look the same, in the belief that less feeling means less pain. But what it really means is less living. And if you still want to live, really live, then start by challenging the one thought that wants you to stop. It's not too late for joy. It's not too late for love. It's not too late to matter, and it never was.